Hello and welcome to the first edition of Caged Full Throttle, the podcast that brings you lots of reports, news, opinions, and as time goes on, we'll have interviews, discussions on topics amongst the sport, and fixtures of forthcoming meetings. Tonight, Andy Watts, myself, finally with internet connection, is able to join up with the mastermind, the genius behind the podcast, Mr. Matt Josie. Good evening, Matt.
Hello, we're finally here. It's about time.
Yes, we are finally live and ready for action on our first podcast. And we start by bringing you the report from the Mildenhall BWS, the Unlimited National Banger, round number 7 of the Banger Wells series. And certainly, Matt, what a night it was indeed.
Yeah, it was brilliant. Loads of cars, loads of crashing. I will say, it's only my second ever BWS I attended, and it was a lot better than the first one, say no more. And it was what bangers the BWS is about, really, so it was pretty decent overall.
Indeed it was. I mean, I've obviously seen lots of the BWS over the time that it's been running, and over the ones I've seen this year alone, I've got to put Mildenhall as being the best BWS round to date. I mean, certainly the Wimbledon one was very close as well, but it was Mildenhall at its best last Saturday. Lots of big hits, lots of big crashes, and some very nice cars as well into the mix, Matt.
Yeah, of course. You had the Westie from 476 Roscoe, which he kindly had caged on his car, and you also had the rated Rover P5 of Bro 247.
Yes, indeed. I mean, that was certainly a car that I don't think anyone would have expected from Bro at a meeting like that. I mean, when you consider the cars he's raced at previous BWS rounds, quite a surprise it was a classic old Rover that he took down there.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I didn't know what to expect on the day. There was more, as I'd consider, tin on the day than what I was expecting, apart from the Westie. There was a lot more cool cars on show. One from Jack Jr. as well was rather smart. And you had a taxi as well from another driver as well, which was pretty unexpected.
Yes, indeed. One of the TX4 taxis, of course, the famous London taxi, which was raced by 801 Mason Foster. And yes, certainly was put to well and truly good use. And certainly one of the talking points before the meeting even started was the turn-up of a large group of the Brighton Bears.
Yeah, that was a shock, wasn't it?
I was very shocked indeed to see them come all the way up to Mildenhall and certainly rustled a few feathers, it's fair to say.
Yeah, they put on the show. They went head to head with a few individuals as well, didn't they, throughout the meeting? But then again, I suppose that's what the meeting's all about: getting stuck in. You know, your teammate takes a hit and you go back in on the drive that done your teammate.
Yes, indeed. Oh, definitely. And certainly Motormouth Justin Riley coming out in a pretty used Nutty Nige's Yank, but I think he raced back earlier this year at one of the icebreakers at King's Inn. Now, I could be wrong with that, but certainly it's a car that's done at least 4 meetings, but certainly put to rest at Mildenhall last Saturday.
Yeah. What was that? The Yank, sorry. Wasn't paying attention.
Yes, indeed. Justin's a Yank that finally got well and truly, if fair to say, caged, and the back axle well and truly jacked off the ground by the end of the evening.
Yeah, it is about time, really, isn't it?
Yeah, as I say, I think it had done a fair few meetings, but Justin certainly made good use of it beforehand.
How many was it, do you know?
No, I'd say that's done at least 3 or 4 meetings, that car. It had done certainly a few before Mildenhall had turned up. As I say, I think it may well have been raced at King's Lynn earlier in the year at one of the icebreakers.
That's not too bad then. Just get a few minutes.
And indeed.
Well, anyway, moving on. Actually, no, not moving on. Yeah, so it was a good meeting overall. More crashing than what I thought. Plenty of cars. I mean, this is the thing. I went to the BWS at Aldershot in 2015, I think it was, and I mean, I've heard good things about certain BWS rounds, and I was quite fairly disappointed with the action. In fact, there was probably a few spins and a few little hits, but that was about it. Whereas the Mildenhall one, not only did we have lots of cars, lots of material and all that going on, but we had a DD, didn't we?
We had quite a shocking DD. I mean, obviously being up in the commentary box for that meeting. Obviously, it was said that it was either going to be the showdown, which would obviously go from a 10-lap race to the first one to cross 10 laps, or it will end with the last car running. And it was actually quite a shock that we then made the decision that we were going to run either a DD or the 10 laps first and then go into a DD anyway. So I think that topped off the night in fine style.
Is that the first ever DD at a BWS round? Do you know that? I've no idea, but I'd like to know.
I believe, in fairness, I can't remember looking back over the last couple of years that we've run the BWS, that it's actually ended with one car still running. I think it's always gone down to the first driver to do 10 laps in the end. Obviously, a lot of them have decided to turn it around by then, but it's always been down to the first one to do 10 laps. And our congratulations, why we got the chance to say well done to Darren Fenley.
You beat me to it. You beat me to it.
Sorry, I cut you in there. The wild card winner, of course, Darren Fenley, seals his place in this year's World Final on Saturday, the 7th of October at Ipswich.
Yeah, it's nice to see somebody different actually qualify for the World Final in October. So yeah, he's Mildnall based, isn't he?
He is indeed a regular at Mildnall, so it's actually one of the home drivers. And I'm not sure whether he's qualified in previous years. I certainly don't remember seeing him on the grid for last year.
And even if he hasn't, I mean, somebody different's won the actual wildcard race, so it's nice to see somebody different take their place on the grid. Unlike you might get some drivers that qualify more than once on the wildcard. So yeah, it's nice to see somebody different take it.
Definitely. Obviously, another one as well was the meeting the following day at Stansted for the crazy John Farewell.
Yeah, it was out of the 30 cars that turned up overall. It was a mixture of cars, I believe the smallest car was a Focus or Mondeo, and you could have 4x4s and vans. But out of the 30 cars that turned up, around 10 Dutch were there, or 10 from abroad. And yeah, it seemed pretty decent. Plenty of crashing, a few rollovers, including 2 rollovers for Maisie Clark in a transit van, which seemed pretty fun. And I think there's 3 big vans altogether, maybe 1 or 2 4x4s, but yeah, it seemed pretty decent.
Certainly, I mean, if they raced cars, vans, and 4x4s, was that all in the one race? They were racing together.
Yeah, it was, but it's not the first time it's been done. It was done at Tadley many years ago, and my dad raced there in the 80s and 90s. They had sort of vans and cars mixed together back then, which in them days was fine anyway because the cars weren't overbuilt or anything, so it was pretty safe back then, I suppose.
Certainly, I mean, I was fair to say when I read that they'd raced all this variety of cars all in one race, I was very surprised that still happened these days.
Yeah, it's nice to see a mixture of cars and vans together because obviously that is a rare thing these days. But moving on, we've got the Yarmouth Micro meeting that was on Sunday, wasn't it?
It was.
Where 13 cars turned up, so not many. Considering the previous years were the Wee Man Memorial, this year they went for the plain micro domestic meeting, but it seemed pretty decent for a 13 car turnout, including let's just say a very rather snapped off 317 Bryson Walker.
Yes, one of our very own reporters was actually well and truly snapped off. I think it's fair to say he actually got hit through the passenger door looking at the crash that I saw. Yeah,
there was he took a few big hits. Even more impressively was not quite him, but he tried to spin out another driver and won the first 2 heats. And I don't know if you've seen the clip, but he held on really well. Not Bryson, but the guy he's trying to spin out. So that is worth a mention as well, obviously, if you've seen the footage.
Yes, I have seen the footage. I've got to be said, for a front-wheel drive microbang, to see someone actually hold on to it for that long around Yarmouth or any racetrack is certainly some impressive driving. So it's not the easiest of cars to hold on to. Once you get it sideways, Micra's pretty much a bit spun out, and that's where it goes from there.
Yeah, I mean, I've never seen anything like it. I mean, he held on really well, so that was good to see. But I think now, should we move on? Right, we've done our little reports. Bear in mind, not too detailed, apart from the BWS. Mm-hmm. Now we move on to the next section. This is the order we will be doing this in, hopefully for every podcast. This is now the news section that we're going to cover. We've got 4 to cover so far, unless Andy's got any more notes. But we start off at Kings Lynn at the end of August on Bank Holiday Monday, August the 28th for the second annual Crash for Cancer Big Van meeting. set up by Mick Gedney, who is a van legend, shall we say.
Yes.
But a mind-blowing over 70 vans booked in. What do we make of that?
I think in this day and age, to see 70 vans race at a van meeting is pretty impressive. I mean, nowadays, you're lucky if you get half of that on a grid these days.
Yeah, you get. I think the average is somewhere between 10 to 25. So 70 this year is amazing compared to even 62 last year, the first time they ran the Crash for Cancer charity van meeting. But 70 this year, plus there's going to be either a surprise van or driver. I'm not too sure which one that is, or if it's something completely different. But what do you think? Maybe a return for Simon Reed? I'm not too sure. It's hard to say, isn't it?
It's funny you say that, because when I actually read that there was going to be a surprise driver, the first man to come into mind was Simon Reed. And obviously, as we know, Simon is a true legend of van banger meetings, and always brings out something very unusual and spectacular.
Yeah, he's not done a van banger for, I believe, since Mildenhall 2009. I think that was the last time he'd done a van banger. So, and I was there myself with the EA Horsebox, and was battling out with 260 Keith Reynolds' Bedford Spy van in the DD, which is pretty cool to see. But yeah, I mean, God knows whether it's a van or a drive. It could just be a van for all we know, but obviously time will tell on that.
I'm hoping, in all fairness, it's one of either. Well,
Yeah.
one of both, actually. It'd be an impressive van plus a driver, and it might even be all in one.
Yeah, you never know. I mean, last year was a surprise altogether with the amount of vans and what turned up. There was a rather cool van from 768 Calvin Girling, which fell apart nicely in the first heat. But, I mean, hope no matter what it is, it'll be a good surprise, and I'm sure it won't disappoint.
Now, the next thing, of course, is the Yarmouth Veterans Meeting, which is obviously going to be in 2018. So a date to be announced on that. Certainly it's going to be, I think it's going to be like the back to basic rules on the car build.
Yeah, I wouldn't say the word back to basic, but it's to the Bears rules, the Bears Bash rules. I don't know quite what that entails. I wasn't too sure on the day. But I'm guessing let's just say it'd be more fun and less serious than the traditional unlimited national banger meetings. So it should be good. I mean, there was one, 2015 was the last veterans meeting. They had about 30 to 40 cars, which looked pretty decent. So hopefully Bryson can do a good job and gain some interest for next year's event.
Certainly, and it'd be interesting to see some of the drivers that come back. Obviously, those that raced at East Anglia many years ago, and obviously one name that will pop up straight away again is that man Simon Reed.
Oh yeah, that's another name actually, but I very much doubt that, but it would be nice, wouldn't it?
Yeah, only time can tell. I'm sure even now he may well even have a car put aside for it, but obviously that'll be confirmed towards nearer the time.
There's also, sorry to interrupt, but there's also, obviously, it's not finalised yet what the format of the meeting's going to be. There have been people calling for it to include regular drivers, not just the old boys, obviously. And this would not be, I guess, not integrated with the old boys, obviously. There'd be separate races, but that is a little debate at the moment, whether it should be just the veterans on the day or do split races for the veterans and the today's national drivers, basically. So, I don't know, we'll wait and see on that one, but it should be a good meeting either way.
Certainly will be, and I think if it was in my opinion on this, and just quickly saying, but it could even be like how it used to be at the Wimbledon days when we did the Young Guns and Stars of the Past meeting, which of course that's split into three categories. So if they go down that format, I mean, they were very successful through the late 90s and early 2000s.
Yeah, that was mentioned somewhere in one of his statuses about the Wimbledon Young Guns and Old Boys meetings. But yeah, it should be good. Hopefully some cool cars as well. But yeah, should we move on to the next topic? Which I suppose has changed now, hasn't it? Obviously, since I wrote this note down.
Yes, it has. But certainly the Blue Oyster, you were saying that the date has changed, obviously, so it didn't clash with the World Final on the 21st of October.
It changed to, I think, the same night as the World Final, and now it's gone back to the 21st of October. Again, a bit of debate why that was changed in the first place. Hinting maybe that it was some of the English spectators upsetting a few locals, but obviously we have no idea why.
Yeah, certainly. But I'm pleased to say that obviously that they've taken the decision to go back on the previous date so it don't clash. I mean, certainly in this day and age, the last thing you want to do at any race meeting, obviously all promotions are trying to sort of be the big meeting and obviously get more people than the track down the road. But certainly it's actually nice when they don't clash big meetings, so it actually gives people one place to go, and obviously it boosts up the amount of people going to these meetings. At the end of the day, it's people coming through the doors that keep these racetracks open, as well as the drivers and obviously all the people that run these meetings, like the promoters and obviously the marshals, etc., that run the official side of things. But yeah, I'm pleased to say that that date's now changed.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm sure. I mean, I'm guessing the promoter would have known about the World Finals, so I don't think we'll ever know why they changed the fixture in the first place, but we'll never know. So yeah, we'll leave it at that one, I think.
Indeed. And obviously, the news that came out, I believe, in the last couple of days, obviously, the Brighton Bears Bash back on the 8th of July.
Oh yes, a lot of money was raised. 33,000, or just over that, obviously, but yeah, 33,000.
Yes, it was. It was actually quite ironic. It was £33,300. So
That's quite ironic. What was it last year?
it was.
What was the total last year?
I know it was just over 31,000, I think
Oh,
it
so
was, but I
did they
might
beat
well
it
be
this year?
wrong. I'd have to look back on that. But certainly, it was absolutely staggering amount of money again that they raised for the Rocking Horse Children's Charity.
Yeah, it's a lot of money. I mean, I mean, no matter what the outcome, it was always going to be an impressive amount of money to raise. But to beat, or potentially beat last year's total was even better.
Well, it was, and obviously a lot of that was made up of charity events that went on before the meeting itself. But then on the actual night, money was obviously taken from people's admissions into the stadium at Arlington. Well done to AP Videos, who of course filmed all the action that night. Alongside them was obviously Impact Videos as well, working together to give us as many cameras as possible. And obviously they were selling their DVDs, and obviously that's still on sale now for £12, and £4 of each DVD actually went towards the Rocking Horse Children's Charity.
I need to buy mine. I'm hoping they'll be on sale this weekend at Eastbourne, so I can purchase my own copy and put my
I
full quid
must
towards the
admit,
charity.
mine arrived in the post today. I ordered mine last Friday. I then went to Milden on Saturday and found they were actually on sale at Impact Videos, so I could have bought it there and then.
Oh yeah, I went to buy my copy at the Impact Video stand on Saturday, only for them to run out. So yeah, I was pretty unlucky at that. I've had two comments come in from the same person. First of all, a shout out for Drew Boy 595. So yeah, shout out for you. And another comment from the same guy saying they had one at Hennisford a couple of weeks back. I imagine he means the veterans meeting. I'll take it.
Yes, it was.
Bangers.
Yes.
And yeah, I don't know what else to say apart. Didn't really read much into it, but I know Son of Zoot. I believe Son of Zoot done it. I think his number's 283. Normally does all the shot. But yeah, so yeah, obviously a veterans meeting at Hennisford a couple of weeks ago.
It is, and nice to see that there's going to be another one, this time at a different part of the country, up in East Anglia, for 2018. But as long as they don't obviously do too many of these meetings a year, then obviously a lot of drivers will take the chance to have that one more go out in a banger. But as I say, we shall see later on in the year.
Yeah, now we move on to a next section, which will depend each week whether we do one or not. And it is the opinion section. I've only got one for this week, and that is from myself, giving my opinion. And it's on the Mildenhall season so far, well, the 2 years so far, since their takeover of RDC in September last year. And it is positive. I have to say, it's been a very positive first year for Mildenhall Stadium Limited, obviously up at Mildenhall, duh. So it's been good. I mean, the turnouts have seemed pretty decent to me. The action's been pretty lively from the videos that I've seen. Also, obviously the unlimited BWS last Saturday and the van meet in the pre-70, just to name a few, and the facilities as well. I mean, the facilities are a lot better. Just every part of the track just seems a lot better than before. I mean, just nice little improvements, I think. I mean, how do you feel about the facilities now?
Obviously, being that I used to go to Mildenhall for many years and have done so, I mean, it's nice that they still got a lot of what was already there in the past, obviously, regarding food and drink wise. But I mean, the main factor of obviously Mildenhall since the takeover from RDC has been actually track improvements. Obviously, now you've got a massive centre green, you've got banking. You've got obviously new track lighting. I mean, the track lighting there now is
Spectacular.
totally something.
It's
It
a lot
is
better.
so crystal clear. I mean, to see the meetings towards the end of last year up in the commentary box and those that stood on the home straight, you were very lucky if you actually saw turn two or the roadway bend, as I call it, because it was too dark over there come the end of the meeting.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. You got the better lighting and the better pit area as well. The pits are a lot nicer now.
it is. I mean, it's a lot more level, it's a lot more flat, and obviously for those that take note of these things, as you come through the turnstiles on the pit bend, certainly they chopped all the trees down to allow more light into the pits, obviously during the daytime of the meeting, and obviously the lighting then obviously more improved than before. I don't think it actually had any lighting back in the RDC days, if I'm
No, I don't
right in
think. I don't
saying.
think.
It's
I don't
certainly
think.
very dark.
No, I don't think there was. Another thing to talk about. Oh, it's gone blank on me now. I was going to talk about something, but I totally forgot what I was going to say. No, that's it. The infield. When the new infield was sort of shown on Facebook and things about what it looked like, I was a bit sort of like not sure whether the action will be the same. I was a bit hesitant, and to my surprise, without the big huge blocks they used to have, the action has been just as good. It looks nice, but on the first viewing, first initial thought was, oh no, it's not going to be quite the same. It's not going to be as good. But again, Mildenhall proved me wrong. The action was superb on Saturday. My first visit since the infield change. So yeah, that was. I mean, what do you think of the infield? I mean, it is a lot. It's a lot nicer now, isn't it?
It is indeed. I mean, obviously, the concrete blocks did add to some of the fun, and obviously, the main thing of having the infield done was obviously for safety reasons. Obviously, a big part of oval racing these days is health and safety, and certainly having the bank in there. And as we saw on Saturday with a couple of the hits that took place, it certainly came to good use. It certainly stopped the cars actually coming up the banking, or some of them tried at least. But the marshals are kept safe, and I think once obviously it's certainly got the nice grass effect to it now, so that's obviously just made it a little bit smarter. Yeah, I agree that the centre area has made a huge improvement to the track, and I know obviously everyone's got their own opinion to the changes to Milton. Obviously, a lot of people will still like it the way it used to be with RDC, and everyone's entitled to that opinion. But I certainly got to say that the new improvements since then, I mean, hats off to Dave Country and Dean Wood, and obviously those that work alongside them too, that have put so many man hours into that. And the nice thing about the changes to Milton Noir, that it's still got a nice touch of the Wimbledon, because a lot of the fence posts and the wires actually come up from Wimbledon, along with the pit gate is I think going in as well at some
Don't
point.
forget the tyres. Don't forget those Wimbledon
And
tyres.
of course, yeah, those the familiar and marker tyres that Wimbledon had on their inside of the bends has now made it to Mildenhall. So yeah, yes, a lot of good changes made to Mildenhall, and I know that there is still more to come.
Yeah, there is. I mean, the only two faults I've had with Mildenhall this year in particular, and these aren't being too picky. Maybe there was the pre-90 Unlimited National Banger meeting a month or so ago, and when I first heard news of this meeting, the pre-90, I was thinking of it more to be. I mean, it is effect. I mean, it sounded like it was going to be similar to the Suffolk Open, apart from no Yanks and the fact that it was going to be a pre-90 meeting. It didn't have any build up to it, which is the first negative about that meeting, and the fact that it was on a 2-day meeting. But this should be constructive criticism, I think, because next year there's no reason the pre-90 shouldn't come back. I think it's got great potential. It could be a nice little replacement for the Suffolk Open next year. So we'll wait and see on that one. And of course, there's the old school team meeting, which I believe used to always involve the Mondeo side of things, and then it was changed to non-Mondeos, which caused a bit of a backlash from drivers. And they've gone back to Mondeos, haven't they, this year? I'm not too sure. Is that true?
Yes, they have gone back to Mondays because obviously those that saw the last one a couple of years ago, most of the field, in fact all of it, was Mondeo's, and there was so many big hits that happened. And fair play, once those drivers actually came off the track and repaired them, a lot of the cars actually came back out again, purely due to the strength of the Mondeos. So when they obviously turned around and said, "Oh no, we're not having Mondeos," that's when a lot of drivers said, "Well, what else are we going to use?" And that's where it sort of went flat, really. But quite a shame it didn't actually take place this year, unless it's been rescheduled. But it was due to be on the 26th of August, but that's now become a Micro Madness meeting, and then it's going to be more Micro Madness on the 9th of September as well.
But the thing is, I mean, it's been a big year for Mildenhall Stadium Limited. I mean, taken over from RDC, who were very popular with the spectators like myself and the drivers. But I think it's been a solid year for them. Apart from these two little niggles, apart from that, they can build on that next year into 2018. And it's been a good year. Next year, do you think we'll get a pre-70 again next year? Because obviously, as time goes on, these cars are getting harder and harder to find. I was actually amazed that the pre-70 was on this year. And my God, it actually had a bigger turnout than last year.
It did. I mean, as you say, the cars are not so easy to find now. I mean, they're not actually cheap to get hold of as well. And even when you do get a cheap one, you got to put a lot of man hours into it to do some welding and obviously make it actual structural to race. So to be fair, I mean, obviously having a larger field than last year, I mean, that was incredible. And some of the machines that turned up were certainly very breathtaking.
It's not just that. The action was better than last year as well. I mean, I've been to the pre-70 God knows how many times in 12 years, and I thought this year would be the downfall of it, sort of maybe 30 to 40 cars and an alright night, but it turned out the action was better than last year, and so was the turnout and the cars on the show. So maybe whether we see a pre-70 next year remains to be seen. I wouldn't be heartbroken if there isn't. I mean, it's been going on a long time now, so if they went to pre-75, pre-80, I wouldn't be shocked or too down about it, but if it goes on again another year, then again, another full-on year of pre-70 bangers at Mildenhall would be great, wouldn't it? I mean, one of the longest-serving pre-70 meetings, one of the last ones to be held, obviously, because we lost the pre-68 at Ennisford.
Yeah. But certainly, if they do hold the pre-70 next year, or maybe even increase the barrier a bit to 1975 and cars before then, just to allow a more greater field of cars to actually be raced.
Yeah, I'd have no problem with that as a spectator, and I'm sure the drivers wouldn't either. I mean, like I just said, it is one of the last pre-70s in the country. Well, one of maybe two or three. So yeah, it's done well. But shall we move on to our little discussion area?
Yes, indeed.
So
the first one, go on.
That was slick. So we got two discussions. We'd like our listeners to get involved by commenting on the Spreaker comment section, wherever that is on your listeners page. The two subjects are, well, the first one is for or against booking lists, and should there be punishments for drivers that book in and don't turn up. Well, I'll tell you what, I'll go first because I've got this sort of roughly in my head. Obviously, for a long time now, in Banger Racing, you sort of look at a booking list, you go to a meeting, and to be fair, I'd say about half the time, the booking list is correct, or either it's, you get God knows how many cars don't turn up on the day, and you end up feeling disappointed. But you could look at Mildenhall as a good example. Obviously, you've not had many book in, but more turn up on the day. But there's certain tracks where you get loads book in and say half the field don't even show up, maybe even more than that. A good example is Ringwood, which is a bit of a shame, a few weeks ago, which hosted the 2017 World Van Banger meeting and the Unlimited Summer Open, where there was 16 vans booked in, 6 or 7 turned up, and out of 33 Unlimiteds that were booked in, only 13 turned up. It is worth mentioning that all the drivers put on a good show, from what I saw on the video of the meeting. But what do we think should the future of booking lists be? I think Ringwood done it right with this meeting that I've just mentioned there, the World Van meeting, where they, with just weeks to go, they took bookings, wouldn't show who was booked in, but they gave you a number. What do you think of that, Andy?
I think in some respects, I mean, it's always nice to actually see the drivers that are booked in, because, I mean, there are people out there that say, oh, so-and-so's booked in for that meeting, I'm going to go and watch that because he might be my biggest fan, or my boy or my girl like watching him race, so that attracts more people. So I think it's fair to say that not only do you put a number down, but actually put down the drivers as well.
Yeah, it's 50-50, isn't it? I mean,
Mm.
personally, if I was a promoter, I'd do the Trojan way and say, give a number of how many are booked in, but not release who is booked in. I mean, obviously, when you do show the booking list itself, who's booked in, you can identify the culprits who book in but don't show up. But I suppose the Ringwood method is actually... I think it didn't go well, obviously, as I just said, but I think that's the way you should do it. Because like you said, so-and-so driver books in, yeah, I'm really excited, they don't turn up, then you feel pretty disappointed. It's a hard one. I mean, there's been debates on punishments, possible punishments. Some saying you should pay a deposit when you book in, and if you don't turn up, you lose your money. What do you think of that? Is that a risky idea? Do you think?
I mean, I can obviously go back to when I used to do the actual Speedway stock car office for a couple of years, and a lot of the time it isn't down to the promotions for putting up a booking list, and then loads of people don't turn up. I mean, a lot of them do book in. I mean, you'd have, like, for example, you could have 50 cars on a list, and then 15 of them don't turn up. And regarding punishments, I mean, it's a tricky one because other formulas, for example, going back to when I was at the Speedway office, other formulas such as some of the rod formulas and some of the stock car formulas, if they are booking for a meeting and then they don't turn up, they did actually get issued with a fine. And it wasn't a big fine. I think it was only something like maybe £25 a fine. And obviously you couldn't race another meeting until that fine was paid. So again, it's another 50-50 situation because obviously being bangers, they are an open formula that can race at pretty much any time, anywhere, if there's two meetings on the same day.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, it's tough to call. Aldershot does very well as well, it's worth mentioning. I mean, for the back to basics specifically, say you get 30 or 40 book in, you get maybe even a few more of that turn up. But I think it depends on the meeting, depends on the track, depends on the promotion, it depends on a lot of things, and it depends on what class of banger racing it is. I mean, back to basics, you always get more turn up than book in. With nationals, you seem to get a lot less turn up than what book in. Sometimes, again, it depends on the meeting. So it's hard to say. It's like I went to Ringwood. Again, it's not the promoter's fault, but I went to the van meeting, World Final in 2014, where just over 30 vans booked in, only 14 or 15 turned up. Imagine how as a spectator, how devastated I was. I mean, in the end, it was a fine meeting. There must have been 4 to 6 cool vans. The drivers put on the show, including the squad. But it does, when you pay a lot of money as a spectator to go into a meeting, pay for parking, pay for a programme, I know it all adds up, but to get half or even less than half than what actually booked in, it is disappointing.
It is. I mean, as you say, it's not the promoter's fault. I mean, obviously, you know, if someone says they're going to book in, they turn up, then obviously you take their word for it, and obviously when the day comes, you find out whether they're there or not, obviously when they sign on. But certainly to actually have half the field not turn up to a meeting, and I know on most average meetings that happen around some of the Speedworth track, you can always guarantee, certainly at big meetings, you're going to lose at least 15 or 20 cars instantly. And obviously back to basics, because at the moment, obviously, there's not many tracks running back to basics apart from Speedworth and Incrace themselves. And obviously a few more promotions have obviously jumped on the bandwagon as well, which is good because obviously it opens up the car variety at meetings. I mean, some of the cars we've seen at these back to basic meetings have been quite interesting, it's fair to say.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're in that topic there because I'm running out of ideas what to say. But like I say, it's a hard one, and obviously maybe within the next few years promoters might clamp down on it, but we'll wait and see.
Yeah. So then we move on to the fixtures side. So we got this weekend coming up.
Oh no, you're missing something.
Ah, go on then. What?
The future of banger racing? Question mark.
Ah, yes, the future of banger racing. Of course, the news that was broken out about obviously they weren't going to be producing any more petrol or diesel cars in 2040.
Oh no, it's terrible, isn't it? I mean, it is worth mentioning, obviously, with on the road, you can still drive a petrol car, just you won't be able to purchase a brand new one. But how is that going to affect banger racing, do you think?
I don't think it's going to affect it too much come 2040. I mean, hopefully, we're all hoping that the future of short over motor racing still exists in 2040, but certainly I can't see it going to affect it too much because even now, drivers are moving forward with the type of cars they race. There's a lot of modern machinery starting to be raced at meetings, not just at rookie banger meetings and back to basic meetings, but all across the classes that we run for nationals and rookie bangers. And I reckon that come 2040, we'll still be seeing cars that are about 10 years old still going around a racetrack, all going well.
Yeah, I mean, it will be interesting. I don't think banger racing will be exactly the same as it is now in, say, 10, 20 years, but I think it will still exist in some form. I mean, you think about it now. We still have all Granada meetings and all Cortina meetings. So I imagine even let's say in 30, 40 years time, you could still have an what do you call them, an Ultima meeting or a Focus and Mondeo meeting. So in many years to come, we'll still see we still see banger racing. It just depends on, more importantly, whether the tracks survive. Because obviously we've lost Coventry, I believe. We've lost Wimbledon earlier this year, and obviously we can't, because we're running out of land in the country. How are we going to build any more banger tracks or stock car venues? It's going to be pretty hard, isn't it? I mean, we've got nowhere to build a track, have we?
No, unfortunately, the land obviously seems to go towards more housing and industrial development and business side of things rather than a family fun sport that everybody loves. And certainly, as you say, with the sad closure of Coventry last year and obviously Wimbledon back in March, obviously we want to hold on to what we got regarding racetracks at the moment. So fingers crossed we won't hear any more sad news on track closures, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's quite sad, really. I mean, Wimbledon was a fantastic venue. It was the Wembley of banger racing, really, and obviously stock car racing as well. Coventry was one of the homes of the Brisker F1 stock cars, so that was sad to see. We've also lost Tadley in the last year or two. I think they last had a meeting a year or two ago, but of course, back in the 80s and 90s, that was a dirt track. It then got brought back around 7-8 years ago by Fleet Motor Club, and unfortunately they had a few years there, and they're not. Basically, the landowners aren't letting them race there anymore. So Tadley's another track that's gone. So there's quite a few venues that we are losing, and like you say, it's all about keeping the tracks that we have got, like your Mildenhalls and your Aldershots and all that. Otherwise, I mean, how many more tracks are we gonna have left, and how long will it be until otherwise we have no venues left?
Well, that's it. And obviously we do advise and try and encourage people to try and get to as many race meetings as possible throughout the year. Obviously those that can afford to go on a regular basis, just to support your local track and obviously the tracks that exist.
Yeah, it's very important that you support not just the big promotions but the little ones as well, like Stan Lake and Tonga Motor Club. Because obviously, like, Stan Lake's been going for, I don't know, maybe at least 20, 30 years now. And I know a lot of people are not keen on the venue in terms of facilities and the long day out, but it's a cheap day out. I mean, it's £12 entry. That also covers your free, albeit page and a half programme, your parking, and £12 to watch at least 6 banger races on the day. It's very good value, really.
It is. I mean, that's the good thing about Stan Lake is that you do get value for money. You do get a lot of races for what you pay to get into a track.
Let's not forget the bank holiday fixture, which is the same day as Kings Lynn big vans, which is quite sad to say. Of course, fine example, you pay £12 to get in, you get maybe 20 big vans on the day and about 50 street bangers, and that is real value for money, and you get 2 destruction derbies at the end of it.
I think that's the key thing is whenever you say to any supporter and spectator, there's a destruction derby on, that sort of encourages them a bit more to go.
Two of them.
Yeah, not just one, but 2.
But yeah, I mean, Stan Lake's a good little track. So yeah, it's not just obviously support your big tracks, your big local tracks, but also support your small little independent promoters as well. Like I said, Tongham, Stan Lake. Is Stansted an independent one? I'm not too sure, but you got
It
other
is, yeah.
little venues like
Stansted
that.
is a independent track as well.
Yeah, Smallfield, Swaffham. Yeah, at the end of the day, I mean, keep them going. Otherwise, as we've just said, we'll lose more and more tracks, and we'll have nothing left to nowhere left to go and watch banger racing.
Indeed.
Right, shall we move on to the fixtures? I think it's that time. We're getting near
Yes,
the end.
it is.
So, do you want to kickstart things on Saturday, and I'll do Sunday?
I will do, and certainly one that everyone's probably made a note of over the last couple of months is the Arlington Battle of the Bilge banger meeting that starts at 6 p.m. at Eastbourne. I mean, once again, it's another classic car meeting that's got a lot of great machinery turning up, it's fair to say.
Yeah, including one very nice car that's got Cage written on it, so that's quite nice to see.
Yeah, that was one that went up just in the last couple of hours,
Yeah,
thanks to James Eaton.
Yeah, thanks for that.
And I've seen, obviously, those that are obviously part of the actual Facebook page for Classic Carnage. I've seen a lot of great machinery go up over the last couple of months. So it promises to be a real night of beautiful machinery and some very rare machines as well.
Yeah, it should be pretty decent. Obviously, the Classic Carnage last year, where around 60 to 70 cars turned up. That was a great night. And hopefully more of the same this year, but obviously more, in a more smaller car format and no A60s. So it'd be something different, won't it, compared to the previous Classic Nights at Eastbourne?
Yes, it will be. And certainly, if you're going to go down to Arlington, I would advise getting there early because it will be very, very busy regarding people getting into the stadium. And then the other fixture on Saturday night, if you're up in the East Anglian area, is at the Vauxhall Heath Stadium in Ipswich, where it's a banger East Anglian Championship qualifier, and it's a World Qualifying round plus a Whip Street Motors Track Championship round number 7 as well. So a lot of the local drivers already booked into that, and certainly a very strong field at the moment, just shy of 30 cars, and I no doubt come the night there will be more that turn up to join the lineup. And that all starts at 6:45. So choice of meetings for Saturday if you're going to either Ipswich or in Eastbourne. But also as well, Matt, is the Ringwood Microbanger UK Open.
Yeah, another microbanger meeting to talk about, obviously. Hopefully I think there's quite a few booked in for it, including a few from Team PVR, who I'll be racing for in September, so that should be quite a good meeting. And
also as well, a big world final coming up for Kings Lynn on Saturday night, of course the 2 litre world final.
Yeah, that sounds pretty good. Who's your money on?
Ooh, I think it's hard to say. There's a lot of strong drivers on that list, so I couldn't pick one out and say, yeah, I think it's going to be him, because everybody knows Kings Lynn is, I would say, one of those tracks that you can not really predict who's going to actually win a race, because it's always very lively.
Yeah, it should be a good meeting, no matter what. But yeah, moving on, Sunday the 13th of August, we kickstart at Aldershot Raceway for another unlimited back-to-basic meeting, which starts at 1 p.m. Currently 38 cars booked in as of going live on this podcast, including a return for 323 Waspy, who was a legend, shall we say, of the old Aldershot banger track in the old days, so it's nice to see him back out again. Some other names include, again, Team PVR's Jeff Wolford and 734 Daniel Blackwell, and also we've got 713 Lauren Annette, who's booked in, who, let's just say, she doesn't care, does she? She just keeps going in a back to basics, doesn't care. She keeps going.
She is certainly one very tough young lady, is Lauren, and she takes the men on, and she's not shy to really put a big hit in on some people as well. And as you say, she always manages to get the car out on a lot of the hits that she does take. So credit to Lauren.
The highlight being the figure of 8 race on on June the 18th when the tyre burst and she just kept going round. And her dad was shouting for her to pull over and she didn't. She just kept going round and round.
No, I certainly, if it was me, I would have kept going as well.
I would have
and made good use of your time.
I would have pulled over. I couldn't do it. I haven't got the bottle for the figure of 8. No, I couldn't do that. But yeah, other names include 246 Aston Burt. I don't know if it's his first ever back to basic meeting, so it's nice to see him out there. 252 Boogie Stephen Bugler, another interesting and big name to add to the list. We got 380 Lee Hopkins, who likes to stick it in reverse in the final and DD. Whether it's loud or not sure, but it's good entertainment nonetheless. Any other names? Joe Reynolds, Keith Reynolds, Jake White, Paul Cook, Cookie, Jason Thompson. They're all there. So it should be a good meeting, shouldn't it?
It will be, and it's nice to see that a lot of the, should we say, well-known unlimited national banger drivers, such as Boogie, Stephen Bugler, are starting to all come across over towards back to basics now. So it's starting to increase the lists even more.
Yeah, it's
more drivers.
It's proving the point of the divide between domestic bangers and national bangers, that even some of the top national banger drivers can't compete with the other drivers' national bangers. So it's nice to see them move over and respect the formula as well, not cheating them, and no controversy. So it's all good. Moving on, other meetings. Let's have a look. Got my fixtures back up here. There is an unlimited national banger meeting at Northampton. I wasn't too sure. Is that a domestic or is it a qualifier?
No, that is down as a domestic. So it is going to be just those that turn up and got a car basically sat around. And nice to see that Lee Clark's on there. Do you reckon the P5 will be back out for this meeting?
I didn't think of that. Could be. Who knows? We're ain't on that one. Would be cool though. But over 20, I believe, booked in for that, so it shouldn't be too bad a domestic, I suppose. Also, Dover Raceway hosts a microbanger meeting. Obviously, Dover's another track that has been handed over to another promotion. It's still the Coventry family, I believe. It's now under RMC Motorsport. They've had a pretty, I'll say, a decent year. Again, I can't comment too much because I've not been there and I've not read too much into it. But yeah, a microbanger fixture. Maybe expect at least 15 cars on the day. And the RMC Motorsport are currently liking the Cage Facebook page, so shout out to you and thank you for liking us. Wharton hosts an unlimited banger meeting as well, and finally, Arena Essex hosts a micro banger World Series final. So should be interesting. Obviously, it's their version or take on the BWS, but at their own venue, and it's only micro banger rounds as well. So that should be decent. And obviously, to end the fixtures for this week, is Wednesday the 16th of August at 7:30 PM is another unlimited back to basic meeting, but at Eastbourne. So that should be good as well, shouldn't it?
It will indeed. Obviously, midweek racing at Arlington is always very popular, and hopefully it will be another strong field of cars.
Yeah, it's been another fine year for Eastbourne so far. I mean, the back to basic class has obviously taken off. It's gone up a gear at Eastbourne. The turnouts have improved even more compared to last year, and hopefully might get a few leftovers from Aldershot there.
More than likely, a lot of the drivers that come up to Aldershot are regulars at Arlington throughout the Wednesday nights. So, yes, I'm sure that whatever cars are left from Aldershot, should there be any, hopefully, we'll move on to Arlington next Wednesday.
Should be good. Anyway, 50 minutes this has gone on for. Be just over that in a second. But, yeah, this has been the first live podcast with me and Andy Watts. Hope it's been okay. Obviously, it's the first night, so we're a bit nervous about it, but it's all a learning curve. But can I just say, I don't know if you've noticed, Andy, but we've just hit a milestone.
We've hit a milestone already?
Yes. No, well, on Facebook, 4,000 likes.
We've done it. I am impressed. Thank you to everyone that has joined the page. We've got to 4,000 people. I did notice this afternoon we were about 30 people off.
Just shy of it.
Yes.
It's very impressive.
That is brilliant. So thank you to everyone that's joined us.
Yeah, it sort of improves as the weekends go on. Like the BWS, when I was reporting live, I noticed it was getting more and more likes as the weekend went on. So obviously we went from, I think, 3,600 to 4,000 within less than a week. It's pretty phenomenal.
I mean, obviously, like you get updates all the time when somebody says, "Oh, they've liked the page," and looking at some of the names of people that actually joined the page, you think, "Oh, brilliant!" Whether it's a driver, a well-known spectator, or even some of the promoters have actually joined the page over recent times as well.
Yeah, so yeah, we've done well so far. Obviously, there's a few little things we all like to do. I mean, I sort of do the page, the website, and obviously this podcast. So yeah, here's to the future.
It is, and hopefully we will be able to bring you in a couple of weeks' time, providing all goes well my end after last week. We'll be back in a couple of weeks' time, should we say, Matt, for our second podcast?
Yes, hopefully with an interview by then. Hopefully we can bring somebody on.
Have you got anyone in mind at this early stage?
I've got 2 or 3, which I'll put forward to you in a few days' time.
Keep looking on the Caged Banger page in the following couple of days to see who will be our first interview on our Full Throttle podcast.
Spectator or driver, who knows? Could be anyone.
So I think it's fair to say, Matt, we've almost made an hour of our first podcast, which is good going for what we were talking about. And I say it is a learning curve for us. So thank you to everyone that has tuned in and listened. And obviously, if you're listening to this after the live cast, then obviously we look forward to hopefully hearing from you, and certainly get involved on some of our discussions. We look forward to seeing. Have we had any comments over the last 10-15 minutes?
Yeah, we had Rianne, who's been the only messenger so far. Hopefully we get a few more than that. Hopefully we'll do for the next live podcast. But he says the entertainers will be at Northampton on Bank Holiday Monday. So good luck to them.
Okay, so all that's left to say then from myself, Andy Watts, and from you, Matt.
Yeah, thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week. Well, not next week, the week after. Sorry.
Yeah, we'll see you in 2 weeks' time, because I'm on my holidays as of this weekend, so I don't even get to see the classic Carnage meeting.
That's a shame.
All the other bids, but I had to work it around Mildenhall, so I had to make a sacrifice, but what a sacrifice I made. Gutted.
Oh, well, we'll see everybody in 2 weeks then.
We will do. From myself and from you, Matt, bye-bye. See you soon.
Good night. Thank you.